Welcome back to more Ryan Serhant. This is the video that you need to watch if you're thinking about starting a business. Great clips from the top entrepreneurs in the world and their advice on starting a business, on growing, on scaling. And I'm going to give you my thoughts as we go through, and we're going to listen to them and we'll see what happens. Also, one of the best pieces of advice from any major entrepreneur, somebody that is super busy all the time, is to be efficient with their time. And so we're going to watch this on 1.5 speed. You're welcome. Here we go. So let's start, obviously, with the entrepreneur, Jeff Bezos.
Do something you're very passionate about. And
Really?
don't try to chase what is kind of the hot passion of the day.
People say you have to have a lot of passion for what you're doing, and it's totally true. And the reason is because it's so hard that if you don't, any rational person would give up.
Correct.
It's really hard.
Always.
And you have to do it over a sustained period of time. So if you don't love it, if you're not having fun doing it, you don't really love it, you're going to give up.
Here's what I'd say about that. And I don't want to start and stop this video all the time. That's really, really easy to say for someone like Bezos or Steve Jobs, who much later in their career, once things have actually worked out and they are both billionaires, for them to say, find your passion. Don't focus on what you love, focus on what you can sell. Because at the end of the day, you might love mud. Maybe that's what you're passionate about. But if you can't turn mud into a business, you're going to be an angry, muddy person who does what? So yes, I think you can be really, really lucky if you have a career that you're passionate about, but make sure you're also making money doing it and that you can provide yourself with the type of lifestyle that is going to make you happy. Maybe your lifestyle is a hut covered in mud and that makes you happy. Lucky you. Perfect. I envy you so much. I envy you. But if it's not and you want more for your life, then make sure you're passionate about something that can get you more in your life.
Just go and do it, try, learn from it. You'll fail at some things. That's a learning experience you need so that you can take it on to the next.
Always try. I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried.
You may respect and who you believe know what they're talking about. Don't let them tell you it can't be done, because often they will tell you it can't be done, and it's just because they don't have the courage to try.
I think people that look for great ideas to make money aren't nearly as successful as those who say, okay, what do I really love to do? What am I excited about? What do I know something about?
Good old Michael Dell.
Kind of interesting and compelling. It's
he bought his apartment for $100 million, by the way, so clearly it worked.
Yeah, it's a little bit harder, but I think the passion that one might bring with it.
This is a great clip because he's wearing
so
Google Glass
energy
that
you're more likely to succeed.
then didn't work.
You have to have an emotional investment
Passion.
in what you're doing. If you don't love what you're doing, failure is pretty much guaranteed. Success is not guaranteed by any means, but failure is much more likely if you don't love what you're doing.
If you know exactly what you want to be, you need to spend as much time with people that are actually that already.
You know, one of the things that I do is...
I'll pause right on that. That is a huge piece of advice. If you know what you want to be or where you want to get to, you should spend time with those people that are there. One of the first things I did when I got in the real estate business in New York is I saw everyone else just kind of like running around with their heads cut off like chickens, not really knowing what to do, but just sort of learning. And there was some sort of like honor in not knowing. And I thought that was a total waste of time. So I found the top real estate brokers in New York City, and I forced them to have coffee with me. I forced them to let me take them to breakfast just so I could learn from them and hear them. And that was a big part about me starting my own team, was junior agents could come, they could work under me, they could be surrounded by me, be my apprentices. They're gonna be 10 years ahead of everybody else because of the amount that they're gonna learn from me. And then they're also gonna know, is that where I wanna get to? I think that's a huge, huge piece of advice.
I question a lot of things. And you can do that in a good way and a bad way, but hopefully if you try to get people to motivate why they're doing something and their way of thinking, the worst thing you can end up with is a situation where you get told, well, this is the way it's always been. That's the worst ever. That's a non-answer. Instead, ask yourself, given everything you have today, is there a way we can make this better?
And so when we're coming up with ideas, we always ask ourselves, what kind of new market is this creating? And then also what part of my day and what problem is it solving? And so I've gone as far as taking an entire catalog of my day from the moment I open my eyes and writing down every single thing I do. And then asking myself,
time audit. We talk about that a lot.
If you're not coming up with 10 ideas a day, that's why I have this thing. If I'm not filling up this page every single day, then my idea muscle will atrophy. And I started this in 2001, and I still do it every single day. You have to come up with ideas every single day or the idea muscle atrophies. The good news is, after about 6 months of doing that, you're like a machine. People get surprised at how many ideas you could just have anywhere.
But understand
You also want to be focused, just as a caveat to that. I get it. Again, when super successful people say you need to come up with ideas all day long, but how do you then execute on those ideas? You can be the greatest idea person of all time, and then you're going to be like everybody else who's in the cemetery. They're amazing people who had amazing ideas, but they never executed. Nothing ever happened. And then they died, and they just got forgotten about. So you can come up with 10 ideas a day, but don't stress yourself out if there's no way you're ever going to be able to execute on them. Have ideas that are aligned with your focus. There's a great quote by Steve Jobs, maybe it'll be in this video too, where he would talk about issues in companies, issues in growth, issues with startups. And anytime someone would bring him an issue that wasn't in line with what they were focused on, he would say, is that issue a focus? If it's not a focus, it is not something we're discussing. Stay focused.
Nobody is interested in your idea. The world could care less, and you have to persuade them, and you have to show that you're the one person out there that can do it.
When it comes to changing the world, what I learned from Steve Jobs is, if you believe in a Macintosh, if you believe in iPhone, iPod, iPad, if you believe enough, then you will see it, because other people will believe in it. Other people will create software. Other people will create products.
Yep,
so you
manifestation.
Have to believe in what you are dreaming so that it becomes a reality, which is very different than saying, I don't expect anybody to believe it until I see it. You need people to believe it before they can see it.
Yep.
Don't necessarily think that you
manifesting is
have the home run,
huge.
Apple computer on your first start. I spent a long time in my life with skills just building little devices for fun. For fun is one of the key things, because that drives you to think and think and think and make it better and better and better than you ever would if you're doing it for
try
for yourself that you would want. For somebody aspiring to take things to the next level or to even surpass their wildest dreams, there's always going to have to be an element of luck. But I think more important is putting yourself in a business that can be ubiquitous, that really doesn't have limits, because otherwise
sure that you can then operate without just you. But remember that
it can't be something that you can visualize every business.
Hard work trumps luck when luck doesn't work hard.
It's going to be tough to scale to be big enough or to have the perceived value. You want an idea about what you can say. I know it sounds like a bad idea, but here's specifically why it's actually a great one. You want to sound crazy, but you want to actually be right.
Because when you're trying to differentiate, when you're trying
also
to
people's voices at 1.5 speed are always so weird.
Is this right? Is this not right? If you're not having doubt, you're not pushing the boundaries far enough.
Don't think about how do I get big fast. That will happen if you actually build something super meaningful.
Yep, huge point right there. People spend so much time thinking about a business that'll be noticed, that'll be different. How can I be different? What's my market gonna be? How can I change things? And sometimes the best advice, don't focus on being different. Focus on being the best. Be so good, people have to notice you. The greatest athletes in the world didn't change the way football, baseball, basketball, soccer were played. They were just the best at it. And therefore the game changed.
It's super important. So don't think about, what is the quickest way to success? Think about what is the best way to building something important that the world really needs.
This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief?
I like this one. I'm going to write it down.
Exist.
So when we see a kid with a lemonade stand, it's different than when we see a vending machine selling lemonade, even if it's exactly the same product, because the story around it is what people are paying for. So when I meet small business people, all I ask them is not what's their balance sheet, but what's their story. Why should I pick you? Why do I care about what you're doing? And if you start giving me all these
personal
baseball statistics about why you're
talk about personal branding.
Competitor, I'm already glazed over because that's not part of the way I see the world.
I have to want this to exist in the world. I have to not. So it's a similar rule. Just say, if this was successful and I had nothing and I was not involved and I got no money off it or wasn't, would I want it to do well? And that's a great check, I think, to know if you really feel good about the idea and can be passionate about it.
One of the things I advise entrepreneurs to do is when you have an idea, so a classic entrepreneurial impulse is to hold the idea close to you and not go tell people because, the idea is so special. Right. That's almost always a mistake. Go talk to
Why is that a mistake?
Yeah. It's a mistake because your actual real competitive advantage is not that you have this idea that you have locked away in your closet, which may or may not be accurate and you have no idea which it is. Your actual competitive advantage is if you're assembling the intelligence around, does this idea work? What is the right team? What is the right learnings? And we're essentially in motion.
The hardest thing to do is start. You have all these ideas and everyone has an idea, but it's really about
Classic quote from Jack Dorsey. Just start. If you have that idea, just start. Put it out there. Try. If it doesn't work, okay, great. You might stumble upon something else. Amazon famously had a phone. Do you have an Amazon phone? No, you don't. It's called the Fire Phone. It was terrible. But that product team created Alexa from the disaster dumpster fire of the phone that they created that no one actually wanted, right? That was the whole idea was, we're gonna give everyone a phone that they can shop on. That isn't that interesting, but who knew? Start 100 businesses. All you need is the one that works.
Executing the idea and building the idea and attracting other people to help you work on the idea. That is the biggest challenge. But the way to begin is to get the idea out of your head, draw it out,
talk about it, program it if you're a programmer, or make it if you're building something.
Like, you don't have to.
I would also pause right there because that's a huge point too. Not holding things deep down inside because you think your ideas are gold or you think your company is something super, super proprietary. I promise you, anything that you are possibly thinking about starting, someone else has thought about it before. It probably already exists. Your idea, your company, someone else is doing already. You're not inventing a new thing. You're just doing it in a different way with you, and you're executing the right way. So what you want to do is you want to create idea attraction. Being able to attract others to your excitement is what we say about sales all the time. Sales is a transfer of enthusiasm. Same thing goes for all entrepreneurs, idea creation. Come up with that attractive idea that you can bring other people into, and you will grow so much faster, and you'll remove a lot of the pressure off your shoulders. Now I can go focus on all the other stuff.
To be the best, but you have to be dangerous, right? You have to learn just enough to be dangerous to build an idea, concept it, and show it to the world. And then it turns out there are lots of other people, including all 170 employees that work at Instagram, who are much better at doing all that stuff than I am.
170 back in the day.
But you need to find people who can, be drawn to the idea that you build, and then they end up taking it and making it even better.
One way to conceptualize what makes a good product is, good engineering is part of it, good design is part of it, but really it's, one way I think about it is maximizing the probability that someone shows up at the front door of, your store or your website or whatever it is and ends up with a solved problem.
And oftentimes the best methodology is to start with the perfect experience. Just
good old Chesky.
Get that right, and then figure out how to scale something great. Instead of scaling something not so great and then trying to improve it, that's really hard to do.
And so I think when you are
real quick, clearly we're 9 minutes into this video. The number one goal for any successful entrepreneur is just be super smart.
Starting a new business, you don't want to go after giant markets. You want to go after small markets, and you want to take over those markets quickly.
Peter Thiel, smart guy.
A well thought out critique of whatever you're doing is as valuable as gold, and you should seek that from everyone you can, but particularly your friends.
If you're not,
and particularly your employees too. You want to create an environment where people can talk to you openly about different things.
Or if they have any advice with what you're working on. Not only will you hear from people who are passionate about the subject, but you'll be hearing from people all around the world, each with their own experiences and stories that can help you.
Yep.
And there are a lot of people from whom we can learn a lot. And I think, the one piece of advice is don't underestimate anyone.
Is that a ukulele?
Right. Like whether they're, a blue collar worker waiting for the bus, or they're, helping you at they're the server or bartender at the restaurant, or they're a lower ranking employee. I mean, the smartest leaders I've ever seen have always gone around the room and asked for everybody's opinion.
Yep.
Those startups that fail do it.
True.
Ultimately, because they did not make something that people wanted. They made something that, that they thought people would want. They were either in denial about it, whether it was actually any good, or somebody else came along and made something.
The classic advice is people don't know what they want until you show it to them. Sometimes. Some of the best advice I've been given as we've been building our company is don't just create for what you think your customer wants. Give your customer what they need. Again, focus on being the best. Be so good that people have nowhere else to go. Better.
And people want it even more.
The best piece of advice that we've figured out is not to let other people distract what you're doing. There's always haters that say your idea is stupid, this idea is never going to work. Don't even bother doing that because someone else is going to do it before you do. And if we listen to all that feedback that we're getting, all that negative feedback, we would never have built things. We would never have prototyped things. And that's how we really got to where we are. We saw things that we wanted to build, and we just went out and built them. And it turns out when you build stuff that you like to use, there's a good chance that there's thousands of other people that want to use it too.
True.
So it's not just about doing focus groups. It's not just about double checking your vision. It really is about integrating this concept
and really finding a good market sample of people and really listening to critique.
But what you really need to do is think about what is the smallest possible test that I can run for this idea, for this concept, for this theory, get it out there, and get customers using it.
Yep.
Because your customers are going to be the ones to tell you if it's really working or not.
Like there's almost this expectation that you have to have in your mind this sort of I'm going to change the world, sort of make a dent in the universe kind of ambition, right? But it's actually okay early on to just kind of solve small problems in layers until you actually get to a point where you have capacity to do that.
What this all comes down to is doing something exceptional for your users, whether it's in community, whether it's in connection, or whether it's in design. This is our
present great service.
Is that we can actually get away with doing this. We can make this the core part of why we're doing business.
I think you should be spending your money on teaching and sharing. And so that might mean hiring a writer or two, perhaps, instead of a marketing person. And start writing and start getting people to listen to what you're saying. You can't talk about yourself all the time because no one's going to come back for that. We get to talk about things that are relevant to your industry or ideas that you have and start to build that audience up.
I do think that one thing that's important is, especially if you're a founder or a technical founder, is to realize that you can't do everything. And even if you can, you shouldn't.
You should find a good partner, no matter what it is that you're doing. And you should look for someone who has very high intelligence, very high energy, and very high integrity. And you need
See, that's it. That's all you got to do. You got to find somebody who is the absolute smartest, with the greatest energy, and with tons of integrity. It is that simple.
all three of those. You can't compromise on any one of them. Otherwise, you'll end up with either someone's not smart, which does you no good, or someone's not hardworking, which also does you no good, or the worst case is you end up with a smart, hardworking crook who ends up working against your interests.
Correct.
Integrity is something that takes a lot of time spent with someone to figure it out.
The most important thing when you're working with people early is that you guys line up on what your goals are. That sounds really basic, but it can be fine. You can want to build a small business that makes money, and you don't have to go to an office every day. Or you can want to build a huge company. You can want to build Google. But I think you have to be really, really aligned on that.
When a lot of corporations have.
That's a good point too. Thinking about what your BHAG is, right? Which is a phrase that's used to think about what is the biggest thing that we could possibly do together, and make sure everyone is aligned on that same goal. That's where I see a lot of companies also get really, really confused, right? Where you think, hey, we're going to start this cool business. Great. One partner thinks that they're going to build the next Microsoft. The other partner thinks that they are creating a small lifestyle business so that he can still take his summers off to mostly go fish. They don't actually come together to understand what is our major goal, what is the why for why we're building this company, and how big do we both want to make it, and be all aligned on that. Then you're going to have major, major, major issues. It's like a couple that comes together and they're amazing. Let's start a family, but really one wants 5 kids and one doesn't maybe even want kids. That couple doesn't last.
They might call them core values or guiding principles or so on, but the problem is usually they're very lofty sounding. They kind of read like a press release the marketing department put out. They sound just like their competitors, and maybe you learn about it on day 1 of your job, but then it becomes this meaningless plaque on the lobby wall. Well, we wanted to come up with committable core values, and by committable, meaning we're willing to hire or fire people based on those values, completely independent of their actual job performance.
A company is simply a group of people.
I know this guy.
As a leader of people, you have to be a great listener, you have to be a great motivator, you have to be very good at praising and looking for the best in people. People are no different from flowers. If you water flowers, they flourish. If you praise people, they flourish, and that's a critical attribute of a leader.
So many things go wrong when you're starting.
Who's this guy?
Often people ask,
I know this guy.
What mistakes should you avoid making? And my answer to that question is don't even bother trying to avoid mistakes, because you're going to make tons of mistakes, right? And the important thing is actually learning quickly.
Don't have analysis paralysis.
Right, and I mean, there are things every single year of Facebook's existence that could have killed us or made it so that it just seemed like moving forward and making a lot of progress just seemed intractable. But you just kind of bounce back and you learn, and nothing is impossible. You just have to kind of keep running through the walls.
Optimism has a place, but I think even more so for the first-time entrepreneur, you need to be pragmatically pessimistic. What I mean by that is you need to define all the worst-case scenarios.
I think I recognize this restaurant.
Etc. Look at what you will learn if that happens, and accept and come to terms with that before you ever start. If you don't do that, and you go straight into battling the world, trying to conquer the world with rose-colored glasses on,
it's not going to work.
You hit a major hiccup,
you're dead.
Really demoralized, and you will quit.
So there you go. Those are 50 top entrepreneurs who have done amazing things, plus myself, who's trying to do crazy things all day, every day. Take those tidbits, take my thoughts, and just start, right? But 2 key things to remember from this that really, really stick out to me is 1, don't wait. What are you waiting for? Tomorrow, the sun is going to rise and it's going to set. The next day, the sun is going to rise and the sun is going to set. What are you waiting for? A perfect scenario, a perfect situation? You're like the 60-year-old who's still trying to find the perfect person. It doesn't exist, okay? Because you have created some cockamamie idea in your head of what you think perfect is, or the perfect time, or the perfect setting, and it's not real. It's just in your mind, which doesn't exist. And 2, more than anything, and I don't think anyone mentioned this one word in that entire video we just watched, all these 50 people, there's a lot of passion, a lot of love, a lot of hard work, and I hear all that. Not a single person mentioned the word discipline. With discipline, you can do anything. You could lose weight. You could gain muscle mass. You could learn a new language. You could start a new company. The discipline to put your phone down, the discipline to not do that one thing, the discipline to not be distracted, the discipline to get up every single day and go. So thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching more Ryan Serhant. I will see you on the next one. Like, subscribe, send to your friends. You know what to do. I'll probably be more shaven next time. Love you. Bye.